Okay, last class, last lesson. Let's make some toy dinosaurs because why wouldn't you? So tonight, what I wanted to do is do variation of what we've already been working with the form edit workspace or the form workspace, making a toy animal, something like that, something plushy, something squishy, rounded with a little couple of folds here and there. But last time, working with making like a rubber ducky. We pretty much made the whole thing with a single object. Yes, we bridged two together to make the body and the head, but it was largely a single body. Tonight, what I want to do is something with appendages that you then add or connect together. So some of like arms and legs that you then push together onto it. Now, if you model just directly extruding faces and warp everything around as it goes, awesome. That works equally well. But I wanted to show you how to a couple of different ways for merging those parts together onto here. So first, just grabbing an image off the internet. Yeah, little adorable dinosaur there. So gonna make a little something. Again, we're not trying to make exactly that, and I'm certainly not expecting like the texture or anything like that. This is not the program to do that. But we're gonna try and like make something with arms and legs, little basic head, and maybe even some spots if we get to it. So let me switch over to Fusion. Yay. And first thing, this time we're going to start with the canvas. Insert from computer, toy, dino, and we're going to work on, that will be the right side. So the XY axis. There we go. It's a little tiny. That's all right. We'll move it into position and calibrate it. So first thing, yep, calibrate, open up the canvas, right click on toy dino canvas. Oh, not edit canvas. I meant to hit calibrate. So pick 2 points, tail to chest, 13 millimeters. I'm going to make this 300 millimeters. So, reasonable size plush toy. Again, you could scale this to whatever you want. It could somewhere in there, just kind of going with that because seems reasonable. All right, so 30 centimeters or 300 millimeters. Great. Gigantic. F6 to resize. There we go. Okay, good starting point. Again, hardly complex, very soft details, and yes, it's adorably soft because it's a plush dinosaur. All right, so first thing, save. Example, plush dino in class. There we go. All right. Create form into the form workspace. Now, something like this, I want to intentionally make something with the body and the legs separate. So the body, tail, and head, reasonable to make that out of a single form object, and then the legs, secondary elements. So I'm going to start with that, and we'll start with a box. Again, a box is not an absolute angular box. It's kind of a soft, squishy, eraser-like form. All right, so my direction, I'm going to make this symmetric right off the bat. Center rectangle for start, sure. I'm going to start kind of right in the center there. There we go, something like that. That works. Again, that is right in the center. Now, symmetry is not automatically applied. We can, of course, add symmetry. Mirror across the, in this case, height, because it's cross height. There we go. That's exactly what I want. So let's try to make this roughly where I want to start. Something like that. I can always move this around. That's about reasonable. It's a little small in the cross section. I don't know. Yeah, 100 sounds good. That's about right. And yeah, really simple. Just length, width, and height faces too. So we just have it, those side faces divvied up into quarters. Good. Keep your beginning simple. Divide it up later. Add complexity as you go. All right, that works. We have symmetry applied. It's roughly the right size. Great. Okay. So now, kind of got like a little box thing going, getting Dino Riders flashback. But anyway, that is my own head. So let's go ahead and start modeling this. I'm going to go to Edit Form, and I want to drag this backside out to create the tail. Now remember, for selection, and I'm going to switch to all mode selection because I need faces and edges, because if I don't, and it selects that, press and hold Alt and then drag out. Remember, you get dino butt cheeks. I don't want that in this case. What I want is both faces and the edges. So I'm going to use a right selection box so it selects all. There you go. the whole dino butt without the cheeks. I'm going to first kind of pan this down a little bit, get it more or less where I want it. Press Alt, hold, drag outward. Roughly there. Let's scale it down. Now, doing the all scale, three-dimensional scale, or uniform scale in all directions there, might not be the right case. So let's Control Z. I think in this case, I'd like to just keep it non-uniform and just kind of scale it in one direction, and I will adjust the width of the whole thing later, since I'm just working from one dimension here. Great, okay. Kind of working right about there. Let's do it again. Press and hold Alt, drag outward. All right, let's scale widthwise. A little bit of a tail there, good. Oops. Let's orbit that more or less there. We'll do a 2D scale. There we are. That's working pretty good. I like that. Again, we are not trying to make this exact. If you want, more power to you, but I'm not. I double clicked on just the edge there because I want to kind of warp that around. There we go. Something kind of like that. We can start scaling the tail. That's fine. Start working my way around, scaling that one maybe. Yeah, let's shrink it a little bit. Not a lot. Right here, kind of feel like that should actually be a little bit larger, maybe, or not. Kind of feel, if anything, I probably should have an additional edge right there. So maybe I should have added one more. Okay, we'll leave that selected. Hit Insert Edge. I don't want it on that side. I want it over there. So doesn't matter. You can put it right in the middle. Remember, it's from 0 to 1. Only negative because it's going this direction rather than the other one. From the selected edge to the next available edge. So it's a negative 0.5. In that case, you could do it by hand. Does not matter. All right, select there. Back to edit form. And now I just have that one additional edge to play with. There you go. So that's all. Just tweaking this as we go along. There we go. Nice. And right now I do not have any soft modifications going because it's pretty simple already. Great. Let's work on the front. Now I'm not extruding this front. I'm just selecting everything so I can begin working, pulling that forward. There we go. Select all those things. Let's drag that down a little bit, stretch it a little bit here. And we'll select all of those and stretch that up a little bit. Okay, great. Now I'm going to start creating the neck. So I got a couple of options, and really, I'm just going to do the same thing I did with the tail in this case. Let's start by select all, just that top. I'm going to hold Alt, pan up to extrude. Now this is going to start kind of getting a little wonky, so maybe what we should do, scale back, or I probably should, let me go back and select some of those, maybe that edge, I'm not sure. See, it's going to kind of get a little big, so maybe instead, first, let's add a little bit of subdivision. So I'm going to just drag that edge. Oops. Okay, go away. There. Just trying to drag that kind of sort of in position. That's all. I'll fix this part later. But I just kind of want, the reason I'm moving that forward is I just want that edge over the neck so that I'm just kind of extruding straight from there. And if you need, yeah, add another edge, double select there. Now this time it keeps throwing it in the opposite, where it does every time the opposite direction of where I want to be. Yeah, sure, something like that. That works okay. Just adds a little bit of complexity. And in reality, I probably didn't and shouldn't have even bothered adding that whole thing just at the top. So let's Control Z. And I'm just selecting up here. And since it's mirrored symmetry across the other side, there we go. Add edge just to that side. There we go. All right. See, now it didn't add any complexity to the sides, only up top. If you want complexity up there, that's fine. Doesn't matter. All right. Back to edit form. Select all for that section. Now let's extrude upward. Kind of got everything anyway, so that's all right. I'll adjust this neck later. Actually, that's bothering me, so I'll do it right now. Let's see here. I think in this case, what might help is instead select by vertex, let's select there. There you go. It's kind of shrinking, but nah, see, that's kind of bringing like some weird stuff in. So maybe not. So this is, again, one of those times where you just kind of have to play around with stuff to get certain things where you want them to be. There we go. And this might even need to scale it inward. See how wide the part is? Maybe that's what I should do, is scale that. But well, let's do that afterwards. Let's try to just keep things straightforward. So again, select all. I want the edge as well. Oops, I had edge only selection. So edge and face. There we are. So all the things. Hold Alt, extrude upward. Still real big. That's okay. We can scale that down. More or less like that. That's fine. Okay. Now, your first thought might be to, shouldn't I kind of rotate everything to kind of angle it forward? No, that would be completely unnecessary in this case. What we should do instead, and of course I can still tweak all this, let's now do a select all from the front and extrude forward. There we go. So no need to try to twist things that don't need to be twisted. Let's just leave it at that. There we go. So obviously, yes, I need to tweak this whole outer edge quite a lot, and I'll play with that. But that's a really straightforward way of making a pretty plush, or a kind of soft form plush toy dinosaur head. So let me save there. Body modeled. And let's do a little tweaking here. All right. So yeah, let's work with the edges maybe. Looks like, actually, let's select there. Let me scale that down. There we go. See, sometimes scale is actually much more effective than actually directly dragging things. Just shrinks those areas a little bit more effectively. And that was a uniform scale, or sorry, non-uniform scale, one dimensional. Let's do a 3-dimensional scale, just moving things around here. Now, look what's happening. It kind of looks like I'm creating a bit of a pinch point. I'm not sure if I am. We're going to find out when I go to finish form. So I'm just working my way around here. The head looks kind of funky. I think what I'll do is maybe a select all there, and let's shrink the neck a little bit. Oof. But there we go. See, scale can be a very effective way of modeling multiple areas as well. Playing with the head here in this, or the neck, maybe in this case, I should try rotating. And then moving outward, getting a lot closer to where I want to be. Now, the top of the head, all that stuff, that's kind of getting a little bit misshapen. So we probably want to start adding some edges here just to kind of break it up. Now, one of the things we have not worked with yet is, I keep saying Subdivide, and that is an actual tool. Now, insert edge is a single edge line, but you can subdivide an area, and in this case, let's just select one of the faces, and you have your different modes. Obviously, simple, exact will show that what you mean there. It breaks up that face into however many more faces you want. So this is why I kept saying, keep things simple to begin with. You can add complexity later. Now, in this case, yeah, we can add just 2 and 2, or we can even divide it down so you're just slicing it up that way, or the other way around. There you go. So different ways of chopping stuff up. So if you need to add a lot more complexity, that's a very straightforward way of adding even more. But in this case, I don't want that. I'm just going to add a couple of edges. So maybe about right there. Let's select there. There you go. Kind of get a little bit more of a T-Rex head there, but that's all right. I'm going to now, again, go back to edit form. And let's select all the top parts. And what I want to do here is just try scaling it down. There you go. See, just kind of playing with everything. Same thing for the front. It's kind of a little bit box-like. If you want to add some edging in, yeah, do that. Now, the trick is, though, once I've added these edges here, if I try to add an edge here, it gets real hard to get that to line up, except I added that as halfway, 0.5. So let's try that. Oops, I already had that selected. There we go. And I want that on this side, so positive 0.5. Yeah, see, and that's not going to work as well. This, it's imagining, I guess, that there is, in fact, a not defined, but an edge there. So it still looks like it's using whole numbers. So let's use a full 1 there. And let's try that. Instant smiley face or horror face. I'm not sure. Yeah, this is going pretty awry. So don't know that I like that at all. So let's just Control Z that. Maybe just work with what we got. We can always try to add maybe even subdivision or something like that later. We'll play around with it. I'm not sure. So let me tweak this a little bit and we'll move on. Let's try vertices. Select all of those. Now the problem is, see, I'm kind of giving it like a divot head here, and that is obviously not at all what I want to work with. So let's try to bring that back. Okay, this is just getting worse and worse. Maybe instead I just need to stick with faces and then we'll work from that. Let's try selecting those. And let's try scaling that. There we go. That gets me a little bit closer to where I want. So yeah, it's real obviously as y'all are finding, it's real easy to get lost in modeling this stuff. So sometimes you just kind of have to just play with it, work your way out of this. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than you like. Probably would have worked better had I not added that subdivision there. But anyway, for the sake of time, let's move on. Okay, so kind of getting like a little bit of a boxy face dinosaur here. That's all right. Okay. But let's see here, just body adjusted. Okay. So what I wanted to demonstrate more of is, all right, got this, just the body and all that kind of stuff's tweaked. A little bit funky. Definitely is going to need some more work. But for the legs, rather than directly extruding them from single face and such, I would like to try working by adding them separately. So in this case, I'm going to use a cylinder tool. Basically cylinder. All right, there we go. Remember that cylinders in Form Workspace do not automatically have a top and bottom. It's just the outer cylinder. It's like a straw. Doesn't have it's a hollow shape. So I want it based off of the XY plane. There we go. I'm going to orbit upward so I can kind of sort of place it roughly where I'd like it to be. How big should dino legs be? I don't know. Let's say 50 millimeters. Okay. There we go. And then for some reason, it did not lock it in while I was doing that. All right. So back to 50. Thank you. All right. So my straw is definitely the wrong direction. So in this case, just going to drag it back down. Looks like I should move it automatically a little bit further. So I'm going to leave this a little bit more simplified, right about there. Height faces, let's drop that down to 2. There we go. Let's make this a little bit more simple. Now I am going to leave this at 8 diameter faces. See, it's basing its faces in the round. You can see 4 from any direction, so the other half is 4 also, so 8. There we go. Now in this case, I am not applying symmetry within this at all, because each leg is going to be an individual that then I will make mirror duplicates of. So we're going to start with just the one. Okay, let's say that works for now. All right, now first off, I do want to move this into position. And what I mean by that is just it started way too high, so hit M, move tool, bring that roughly to leg area. All right, so there we go. Great. Now from there, we can, of course, go to edit form. In this case, I want to select by edge, grabbing just that bottom, and I'm going to either drag that down or you can alt and extrude that. So in this case, I'm just going to keep it simple. There we go. Really straightforward, more or less where it's going to be. Okay. Now, obviously, this whole thing, probably we want to angle it or something like that, but don't do that yet. Let's complete the leg, then adjust it into position. All right. So first thing is, like I said, it is a straw. It's an open and top and bottom. So let's go ahead and close those up. So to do that, we're going to go to Modify and Fill Hole. I'm going to start with the top, double click to select all of it, and it automatically drops it down to the first selected method. Fill star. You go to fill star, reduce star. That kind of leaves it as kind of like a weird crimped thing. Don't like that. Collapse, and you've got kind of a directional thing there. Not really. Actually, I quite liked the first one. Fill star. All right, that works. The checkbox for keep creases is if you wanted to keep it as a direct cylinder. I do not. I want to leave it as roundy little button thing there. Great. Now the bottom, let's right click to bring up the same tool, repeat fill hole, double click. Now in this case, I do want to leave the creases because I want this to be kind of a flat bottom. We're going to adjust this afterwards, but there we go. So in this case, if you're keeping the creases, aside from collapse, it doesn't matter which one you use. Collapse brings everything to a vertex at the bottom. In this case, reduce star, and you kind of got these weird little bits. So again, fill star works. In this case, it leaves it as just like a single plane circular dealy. Great. Circular dealy, very technical term. All right. So what I want to do here is just start shaping this leg. Now, yep, it's kind of a little bit more forward than I would like. That's okay. If you want, double click, move it back a little bit. Doesn't matter. It's kind of, we're going to be angling this in a few, so whatever. But I do want to start breaking this up. So what that means is let's add an edge. And one of the things I would like to do in this case is I want to add edge, not all the way up there. Let's do something more or less about halfway down. So -0.5. There we go. Okay. Because what I want to do is these have the kind of adorable little like bell shape, bell bottom legs here. So let's double click on those and let's just do some scaling work. I'm just kind of mushing these around a little bit, kind of giving a little bit of like, elephant's feet, if you will. Now, if this gets a little bit wider, kind of looks more like a rocket engine at the moment, but that's okay. Or you could have rocket engine leg dinosaur. I don't care. It's your toy. But kind of want to have those, like bell-bottom things. There we go. Now, the toy itself does not look like it has toes or anything. It just kind of has this bottom bit. I would like to add toes. So what I'm going to do in this case, to do that, I want to add one more edge off there, and I want to bring it kind of close to the bottom. So I don't know, it looks like 0.75, just if you want to be nitpicky with the numbers. Okay. And I'm going to orbit forward. And what I'm going to do, edit form, select by faces. Now, one of the things it's running into, usually if you only select the faces and extrude forward, it's not going to connect. You're going to get like, in this case, should get dino toes. But weirdly, I kept running into, it was connecting them anyway. So not sure why. So I need individual ones. So I'm just going to have to select them individually. Alt and move them forward. Oh, okay, looks about 6 millimeters. Okay, great. Just to give myself a point of reference. Do the same for this one. Use the pan. About 6. Great. And again, whoop, there we go. So simple little dino toes. Nothing complex whatsoever. Now, right now, it also has a very sharp heel. We applied crease when we made the cap for this, but you can, of course, uncrease it with the uncrease tool. So go to modify, uncrease, and we're going to work our way around just selecting that edge. So this is kind of a way to do, it's an uncontrolled fillet. You don't actually control how round it goes, but just selecting those, my form rounds out. So you will still be able to add an actual fillet when we finish form, when you exit the form space and it converts these objects to solids. But if you wanted to round it out within the form workspace, there you go. All right, so let's save there. Dino foot. All right. Now, obviously, we need 4 of these. So the body has symmetry applied. So let's go ahead and make at least a pair of these legs. And in this case, just double select or double click to select the whole thing. Control, copy, Control V, make two of them. Whoop. There we go. Now, in this case, if you want to scale this up or do any tweaks, whatever, there you go. In this case, maybe you want to leave it as is, or we want to like just drag that top upwards a little bit, make it just a little bit taller. I don't know, whatever. It's your dinosaur. You do whatever you want with it. And even go ahead and now we can go ahead and move like some of the things around. If you want to tweak anything, whatever. All right. So we got our dino legs. Now, how do we attach them? Now, obviously, again, you would probably want to bring these a little bit better into position, that sort, but we can tweak that afterwards. So we've come across two options for merging forms together. And I say that, there is the third, there's literally merge edge. So those work nicely. We can try with that, but let's stick to what we've been experimenting with or what we've been working with already. And we're going to cycle through. Sometimes one thing works better than another. So first, we're going to start with bridge. Now, the problem is, remember that with bridge, you have to have the same number of faces for either side, and you have to have kind of a place to bridge from. So going that bridge, just reviewing, remember, create segments between two opposing faces within a body or between two bodies. But the whole thing is you're selecting with hollow edges. Right now, we have two completely closed forms. So we need to open these up. Now you can just select a face and delete that, but that's going to make a gigantic hole. So let's first subdivide these faces on the body itself. Sorry, not subdivide, but insert edge to chop them up a little bit. So it is kind of subdivide. So let's use it, insert edge. We'll select just right there. I do actually want two of them. Oops, not simple. I want both. So I want it on either side, but let's do in the middle. So 0.5. Look at that. It's a little bit too far away. Let's get closer. 0.3, sure. So I'm just making the faces a little bit more divided, but I wanted to make sure that there's a space between these two. All right, that looks good enough. Let's go from there. Did not change the body much at all. Great. Select that face, delete. Rounds it out. Good. Same over here. Delete. Rounds it out. Good. Does the same on both sides. Okay. Now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and hide that canvas. It's kind of getting a little bit distracting, so leave it there. All right, so we have holes there. I need to cut holes in the legs. Now this is going to be a spot where right now the legs are pretty slight. We might run into a problem with this. In that, let me hide the bodies here. If I delete a face there, that's going to delete a pretty big space. So I'm going to have to work with that. So let's Control Z. Now what I might have to do, let's open that body back up. I might have to have made those legs a little bit taller and then divide the face up, which kind of makes a little bit more sense now. So now that I've said that, let's do exactly that. Let's edit form. Let's select both faces. Just drag them up a little bit. Drag that one up a little bit further. There we go. Okay. A little bit longer legs. That's all right. Now that's kind of about where I want to use that. Okay. The other thing is I need to open up that face. But if I do that, I'm going to end up deleting some pretty large space. So I think what I'll do is add an edge into here so we have something to cut up with. So let's just try one. Deselect both. I just want single. Let's do it up here. I don't know, about halfway up. That looks reasonable. Okay. Now it's going to add some complexity. That's all right. Now let's select that face and delete. All right, got a hole there. Unhide the body. I can see through. Kind of got a wonky hole there. Definitely not the right amount of faces. Because remember that we need to have even faces or edge faces. So with this body, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. On that face or of the leg itself, all right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Technically, that part of it will work. However, they do not match at all. So what we're going to need to do is kind of work that leg hole, weird, so that they at least get closer to matching up. So what might work best, let's go to Edit Form, and let's select that whole ring, and let's try scaling that up. Ooh, that is funky. That is real funky. Just going to try to squish this around, maybe stretch it a little bit, move it around. Let's see. Trying to get it roughly into position. That looks possibly not terrible. We're going to find out soon. All right. So that looks okay-ish. Let's find out if it works. Hit OK. And let's try bridging. All right. Go to Modify, Bridge. Select Sides. I'll just hide the leg for now so you can see what I'm doing here. Body. Double click. Got the whole edge there. Side 2. Select Side 2 on the toolbox. Double click on there. There we go. All right. Let's go to Preview. Looks like this might actually work. But 3 faces between, way too many. Let's just do 1. Keep it simple. All right. Let's try it. Now it's going red because there's an error. What is our error? One of the T-spline selector of this operation does not contain symmetry. That's all right. What it's saying is that this body, the leg, there's no symmetry within that, and we have symmetry applied to the body. So it's going to kind of throw some stuff off, but it shouldn't cause too many errors. It's just letting us know. The isolated faces will be removed when symmetry is cleared. Ooh, well, we'll find out what happens. Okay, so the thing with using bridge with this is it kind of does leave a pretty big, weird, wonky thing here. So I don't know if I like that. Right now, I'm going to leave this as an example. Like bridge, and go from there. Let's unhide the other leg and try that out. I want to demonstrate another method with that one. So let's hide the main body. Again, what we needed to do, add an edge. There we go, 0.5, that works, super duper. Okay, gonna do the same, delete a face. All right, let's unhide the body. Let's try to get that to match up a little bit better. Let's go to Edit Form. We got that selected. Let's kind of move that around. Let's scale it upwards. Woo! Scale it that way a little bit more. There we go. They do not have to be exactly the same size or anything like that. But we do know that they do have the same amount of faces. That means vertices. So one of the other options for this would be, hit OK, is let's try welding vertices. So let's go to Modify, Weld Vertices. And what this does is it brings 2 disconnected vertices and makes them one and the same. So let's try that. It brings up, so you now see all your vertices, these little dots. Do this in progression, select one, select the other. It will either, with your weld mode, will go vertex to vertex, meaning the one you select first will be what will move, the one you select second to where it will move to. Vertex to midpoint, meets in the middle. Weld to weld tolerance, it's more of depends on where it's actually going. So let's just try vertex to vertex. So select one, second, snaps over. Now it automatically changes the whole thing to display mode, box mode, so that you can, so it simplifies the form. You can a little bit more easily see what you're doing. That's all that is. All right. So let's keep working our way around. Vertex to vertex. And it pretty much starts assuming, now that we already jumped those, kind of knows where it's going, and it smoothed everything out again for us. Now, trying to get to that other one gets a little funky, so let's select there and to there. Boop. All right. Now, again, these legs are red because the body has symmetry. The legs do not. That's all. So I'm actually much happier with the weld vertices than the bridge tool. So there you go. Easy fix for this is now, because bridge tool doesn't actually move anything, it just it creates a bridge between them. You can just delete those faces and go back through it. So that is a really effective way of adding legs and such to that. So let's go ahead and pause, and we'll come back to it in a moment. So I'm going to hit OK there. Let's save, leg, weld vertices. Oops. Neither of those spellings are right. Okay. All right. So let's take a break and come back to our dinosaur. Okay, let's get back to it. So we got our dinosaur, or at least half of them, and one of our legs looks significantly better than the other. So, like I said before, if you really just don't much care for how like the bridge option came out, that's fine. Delete the thing. The problem is, remember, we don't have a history slider to go back to chop out. So if you like saved this, close the program, came back, you're gonna have to do it this way anyway. So to back out of something like that, you're gonna have to just work your way around and just delete those surfaces. So you can just select them individually. We just had the one uh surface, or sorry, not surface, face bridge. So we just go around that, delete those, and it goes back to roughly what it was. It's not going to be exact because some things got distorted while we were working with that. So there you go. Same thing goes for if you, or similarly rather, if you dislike how this vertice weld worked, there is a tool for unweld edges. And this, you can just work your way around. I am pressing and holding Shift while I select multiples. Hit OK. Now, it's going to leave those right where they are, but they're not going to be welded so much as now. That's no longer a joined body. So there you go. But I actually was pretty happy with how that worked. So I'm going to Control Z that unweld. There we go. And leave it where it is. And instead, now I'm going to go ahead and weld the vertices for the front leg to the body. So go to Modify, Weld Vertices, and just work your way around. Now, remember, if you want it, or so, hang on, let me Control Z that. If you wanted them to meet in the middle, vertex to midpoint, selecting between the two, join to the middle. Doesn't look like it at the moment because it switched to box mode. There you go. So you can see the difference a little bit there. On the back leg, it moved the leg vertices over to the body. With the front leg, it brought them into the middle. So you make your choice. These already down here is a little bit difficult to get at, a little bit difficult to see what you're doing. So it's that vertex and that vertex. There you go. So it's going to bring them all the way around. It just sometimes gets a little bit tedious doing this, but the effects, or rather the results, are pretty good. I'm quite happy with how often the weld vertices works. Now, the problem is with this front one, look at this odd distortion at the front leg we're getting. So let's try something here. So go ahead and hit OK. F6 to resize, so you see the whole thing. And I'm going to finish form. Now, of course, it's going to leave this open right now. And if you go to bodies, this is going to read this as a surface. This orange icon that kind of looks like a piece of paper rolled into kind of a cylinder, that's a surface. And there is a whole workspace here under the surface tab that you can work specifically in. And it's for, essentially, the whole point is, if I zoom way in, you can see this kind of golden surface on the inside, or this golden color on the inside. This whole form doesn't have like an internal solid volume. It just has an internal space. The whole point is you are just creating this surface layer thick object. So it's completely hollow. Now you cannot 3D print this as is. Something has to have actual dimension, but it does have volume. But anyway, that's just a quick run around, just to explain the difference on those. If you are running into this and you decide, you know what, I really don't like how this came out, we can try, let's go back in, let's edit form. We can unweld these vertices, or at least the way they were, and we can try a different version. What that would just be is, and since I can technically Control Z this, and I'd have to backtrack all the way, but let's just go through unweld edges, and that's just press and hold Shift to select my way around those. Select OK. Now, again, it's not going to snap it back to where it originally was. It looks close. But there you go. Now, you're seeing a ghost image of what just was. It's a reference point. Because there's no history slider that doesn't contain, or it doesn't record history within the form workspace, that is just, that ghost image there is just there to give you a visual reference on what just was. So at very least, you can make a decision on what you want to do next. So this time we're going to do weld vertices, and I'm going to do like the first time, vertex to vertex. So first selection is what will move. Second is to where it will move. So same deal. Now this one is going to get a little bit funky to get to because I cannot see that other one. But if you orbit around, you might be able to see it a little bit more easily. There we go. So it is joining those. It's just real funky to see, or rather, not see. Yeesh. Not being able to see what I'm doing at all. So, this is definitely where you run into some problems, huh? I'm not even sure where the other vertex is. That's a real problem. Let's see here. What do I have selected? Yeah, I can't even tell what I have selected. Well, that's a problem. And these are no longer separate bodies, so I can't hide one temporarily or anything. And they're one and the same, so I can't adjust opacity. So maybe what I have to do is just kind of fudge it. And not sure where. Yeah, I can't even find where that is. So let's just cancel that whole operation. And maybe what we should try and do is, instead of starting with the top, let's start at the bottom. So let's go to the bottom, weld vertices, do it again. But let's start at the bottom, because when I snapped to the top, it kind of just jumped ahead and I couldn't see what was going on. There we go. See, now I've got a gap to work with. So a way to work around. All right. First one select, second one snaps. All right, now that shifts to box mode again. Now, one of the things that might help, since it's in box mode, let's try, go to utilities, display mode, and let's try the both. So right now it's not in, it's defaulting box mode anyway. Let's try seeing both. So it should, so it'll be box, and it should overlay as it is with the smooth form. Okay. Jeez. And I'm just trying to toggle the auto color mode. Maybe I can see something a little bit better in auto color. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just going to try and work my way around this real quick. Let's see here. Zoom way in, and that looks like one vertice. Yeesh. Yeah, I'm completely lost with this. That's not good at all. So I guess something to do is just be cautious when you are using this tool. You might end up getting completely lost. I'm not sure. All right, so let's try changing the display mode. Visual style with hidden edges. All right. Oof, that is funky, but at least I'm starting to see something else. Got a lot of intersecting edges here. That's getting really problematic. All right. And I have not been able to see this at all. All right. So then I guess what we're going to have to do here, let's Control Z until we get back to that thing is separated. Or looks more like it's joined together. Okay, we're going to work with that. All right. So I'm going to go back to my visual style, hidden edges only, or sorry, visible edges only. That is just getting completely too visually confusing. So in other words, what I ran into, I wasn't happy at all with how the bridge tool is working. So we switched to weld vertices. I think personally that the vertex to vertex worked better than vertex to midpoint because midpoint kind of just snaps stuff right in the middle. I much prefer the effect of vertex to vertex. So there we go. Okay, so let's keep going with what we got so we don't get bogged down with everything. I'm going to just save here. To vertex weld. Okay. All right. So the other parts I wanted to go over real quick is, all right, we did half of it. Do I have to redraw all of that and make everything? No. Now, right now, let me go back to Shift In. Now, I'm not seeing symmetry or anything. That's okay because everything is outside of the weld, sorry, everything is outside of the form environment. So let's go back into the form environment, edit form. There we go. We're still in display mode that is both. So let's go to either box, simplify things, or smooth. Doesn't matter for this point. We got the legs joined on. Okay. Now, symmetry is applied. So we technically could have mirrored before we did all of this the legs over, but we didn't. So now we don't have any individual leg bodies. So let's just delete half of it and mirror the entire thing. So I'm going to select to there, selecting one half, to delete that. Now, the problem is what I selected deleted all of that because we still had symmetry. So don't do that. Let's go to symmetry. Oops. Went to clear symmetry from this body. That's the one. Great. My green line disappeared. Now I have it isolated. Select from that side. Okay. There we go. Now it's just, again, it's showing me the ghost of what was. Okay. So now we can go to mirror, which is symmetry. There we go. And it's just select everything that's left. Oh, whoops. Not internal. I want to mirror, duplicate, external. Mirror, duplicate. This is basically the same version of our mirror tool that is in the regular workspace, solid workspace, just not like this. So my T-spline body is the whole thing. There you go. And because we built this across right on the middle axis or right on the origin axis, I can just select the, in this case, YZ plane. There we go. And you check this box, it's already going to weld all the vertices together, so you're not left with two hollow shell forms. There we go. And it automatically reapplied symmetry. So now we can continue modifying stuff symmetrically. And then if we want to isolate things, we can do just that and remove the symmetry. So there you go. Easy way to let the program do the work. Now, this is a pretty chunky boy. So yeah, those are some serious legs. So maybe you wanted to kind of make the legs a little bit more under the body than the top, but this was a little bit easier way to show you. All right, let's save there. Mirror body. All right. So this, of course, we would still keep playing around with whatever you want to do as far as any tweaking, doing any adjustments to the body. I'm kind of liking, it was kind of a weird head here, but I actually kind of liked how this top here is kind of forming like a crest. I think what I'm going to do is go to modify, crease. I kind of like the idea of giving it like a crest. Don't have to select those because it's already symmetry is already still applied. There we go. Just sharp back there. That's all. And modify, select edge. I'm just playing with this at this point. There we go. Yeah, let's pan it backwards. Weird dino crest. Oh, not that one. Scale it out that way. Just playing. So kind of got that. If you want to be able to isolate that a little bit more, you probably need to insert an edge along that. Problem is see, that's making the edge right there. Don't know if that's going to work the way I want. Yeah, it's kind of mussing it up a little bit. So this is just where you kind of have to play around with some things and keep modifying things. Realistically, what would probably work better is what I was trying to do there. Oops. No, that's okay. Insert edge on those, but let's go forward. I don't know why it's not doing it on that side too. That's odd. Sure. All right. Again, not sure why I did it there. Anyhow. Yeah, I think I'm just going to end up messing this all up if I keep playing at this. All right, so there we go. Got kind of a funky dino form. Again, does not hurt for when you get all of this stuff done. You're just playing with this. Try finish form just to make sure it doesn't give you a bunch of error codes. Nothing good. Okay, so let's go back in, edit form. There we go. All right, we're going to keep playing with this, whatever have you. Now, what I want to do next is this is merging parts together, weld vertices, all that sort of thing for the legs. But last time we talked about ways to make like eyes and such like that by extruding the form itself. What if you want to keep those eyes completely round, spherical, or in this case, hemispherical? All right, so let's add a sphere. So we're going to add it on the XZ plane. I'm going to plop it kind of sort of there-ish. Now I can't see what I'm doing, which is problematic. So let's make this, I don't know if you want to give it like giant bug eyes or kind of little beady eyes. That's up to you. There we go. Faces in this case doesn't really matter. Let's leave it kind of rounded. Okay. All right. So we got the body. We're just going to call that body. Let's start adding things. I1. And in this case, all we're going to do is just literally move it. So I'm going to move that, bring it to wherever you feel reasonable. Now, what we're going to do with this is we're going to just literally join these together outside of the edit form space. Now, the problem is you cannot go back and like add, like if you wanted to add like, I'm not saying you have to make like eyelids and such, but if you wanted to kind of morph the face a little bit to fit the head, you need to do all that within the edit form or the within the form workspace, and then join that hemisphere outside of the form workspace. So all I'm doing is I'm just kind of moving this head or this eyeball around the head. That is unfortunate looking. But now let's kind of play around with the head a little bit. We still have these. I want to bring maybe these faces outwards a little bit. Now something to that effect. Okay. Doing that. Maybe what I want to do now is, let's subdivide, or let's add an edge into this head. Let's go that way. All right. And let's crease just that line. And what I'm trying to do here is kind of, yeah, I'm going to have to move the eyeball, of course, but I'm just showing you a way of like maybe making some kind of eyebrows or something in this case. So let's rotate that out a little bit. Again, it's symmetry, so it's applying on both sides. So this is how you can start just kind of playing with that kind of stuff. And again, you're not going to be able to do this outside of the finish, or once you hit finish form. So you want to make these adjustments within the form workspace, and then we'll just literally just with a combined join operation, join the eyeballs onto the body. So I'm really quite liking how that's going. That's actually getting some pretty nice stuff in there. We could even do something effect of like, let's select that and maybe extrude that outward a little bit. Ooh, okay, I do not like what that happened with that. Oh, what is going on? Okay, now I'm giving it like mantis eyes. So let's just definitely back up off of that. That did some not great stuff. I don't know. Let's try. Oops. Okay, edit form. Let's try creasing the bottom. I don't know what that's going to do. Not much. Edit form, edge. Again, I am absolutely just playing at this point. Went from super adorable dinosaur to kind of a little menacing, but still in an adorable way. I don't know. Anyhow, you get the idea what I'm doing here. We're just playing around. Okay, so let's move that eyeball into position. Hit move. Just going to apparently drag that outward a little bit more. And let's move that forward a touch. Mostly inside the head. So it's fine if it's clipping, meaning it's just moving around inside the body. There you go. Okay, so sort of kind of there. That works well enough. Hit okay. All right. Now, obviously, you do want to make sure it has two eyes, unless that's your toy. It, has one eye. I don't know. We will use the within the form workspace. We'll use mirror duplicate to select that form. My mirror plane is literally the plane. There we go. Now, at this point, this is a mirrored object. So if I modify one, it will modify the other. See how it's reading? Not two separate objects. It is one and the same. But the problem with this now is I wanted to place that first because I do want to warn you that as you shall see, it reads this as, even though it is two separate objects, it reads it as the same body object because they are mirrored. But they're mirrored with symmetry. So what that means is, all right, if I want to move this, I can still move it forward and back. That's fine. And up and down. Move that back. Oops. Move that back into position. But if I move it left or right, it moves them both across the plane. So if you want to move these in and out now, what you have to do is use the scale tool. So just be aware of, if you do this and you want the eyeballs to be separate objects that you join later, you are not using the move tool to move them in and out in opposite directions. They will only move, in this case, perpendicular to the selected plane, which in this case is the the YZ plane, in other words, right to left. So to get them to move individually right or left, they're not going to move individually. They're going to have to move as a pair. But what you need to do, go back to Edit Form, select the eye body. Let me do it. Come on. It's just doing the whole thing. There we go. By body. Do not use the arrow tools, but use the scale tool. So what that is right there. Remember the parallel line there? If I scale it, the problem is that what it's also scaling is it turns them into like arrows. So this is not a perfect selection. So if you are making the eyeball separate, move it into position before you use the symmetry mirror tool. That's the main thing. So if you're doing that, be aware of that. It's a screwy situation, so just do that. So there you go. We've got kind of our little eyeball situation going. I got kind of a weird crest thing going underneath there. That's okay. So hit F6. That's finished form. All right. It pretty much stayed put, meaning like nothing reconfigured or anything like that heavily. All right. Now, once we move out, it does read as two separate things. And you're no longer within the form workspace. You can move them individually now. So it's just more of, if you were within the form workspace before you do the mirror operation and make the second eye, make sure you got it positioned how you want it. Or just delete the symmetry and just work on the one eye. Now that we're here, last thing, let's see here. Finished form. And now you can just join it. So target body there, tool bodies, the two eyeballs, and there you go. Operation join. It's one body. There you go. Now, of course, the problem here is we're back to the same issue of applying appearances. Whatever the problem was that was just not letting us apply stuff properly. Yeah, it's just getting real weird with this. So I don't know. Let's just throw some colors on here. Sure, metallic green, because why not? Dino green. Because the problem is we were running into the white, or sorry, we were running into by faces, and all right, now it's working. Before it was refusing to work properly. So, of course, without a pupil there, now it just looks like it's zombie eyes or something. So I don't know, whatever. All right. So the last thing I wanted to do on this was I wanted to show you a couple of options for with the original. Yeah, these little spots on the side. All right. So what we can do here, and obviously you didn't have to apply the appearances for this. To simplify it, I'm going to just shift back to auto color mode. We got our appearances. Great. Let's do a sketch, and we're going to just slice these out. But what I want to do is, if you need, we can try projecting and embossing on this. I'm not sure if the emboss will work. The emboss has gotten significantly better, so let's try it though. So I just want to do a construction plane. Remember, I have to do it this way because construction, or to emboss, might not be. Again, I've got conflicting information for how it used to work and how it functions now. So either way, it'll work this way. I'm just making my sketch floating in space. That's all. So my sketch is on this construction plane. There we go. Just gonna make some amorphous designs here with fit point splines. Does not have to be exact by any means. I am just making some shapes here, just to kind of sort of get the idea across. Don't like where that is, but I'll fix it in a moment. There we go. Now, one thing, this spot here is intersecting directly. If I'm looking straight on orthogonally from the right side, it intersects with the leg. So in this case, I'm going to move that sketch up a little bit just to make sure it doesn't intersect with that and cause more problems. So, okay, move good. There we go. Remember, you can select these, and if you need to move any of the spots or by handlebars, you can do that, but I don't. So there we go. Okay, we got our sketches. Great. So something I want to I want to experiment with is go to create and emboss. We're going to use these sketch profiles, and I'm going to see if it'll work on the face here. It actually does now. So this is one of the things is emboss did not used to function on complex forms at all. You had to work your way around. That's why I was showing you previously with the duck form here, we were splitting faces and using the offset face. In this case, emboss is actually working. So emboss is another way you could actually make use of creating the wings on a duck, spots on a dino. Now in this case, I embossed, which is a positive movement. In this, what I would like to do, let me go back, edit feature, and I'd like to deboss, which is just literally internal. There you go. It just cuts in. That's all. For really no good reason other than I can. Just make it a little bit more shallow. Okay. I should have saved before I did this. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Come on, buddy. I believe in you, Fusion. Don't blow up. It's just watch the crash be a server issue, and it's just everybody working on it blew up the server. I mean, would that not just figure that sure. All right. I'm gonna pause the recording for a moment. Okay, Fusion decided to work again. Awesome. So I just moved moved to deboss there. So all it is that just means that it's now internal. That's all. Now the weird thing is why is it? Okay, just add the opacity up. Now that emboss, the good thing is unlike when I showed you how to do the with the duck, we split face, all of that, that affected both sides of the form. In this case, using emboss only affects the side that is closest. So if I wanted to, and in this case, I'm going to do another thing. I'm going to create another construction plane over here. Doesn't matter how far. And we'll do a sketch. And in this case, just going to do a similar thing, but differenty. That is all. There we go. So different sketch at different spots. Finish sketch. Create. Emboss the sketch profiles. And I'm going to deboss again so it's internal. That side. There we go. Now again, not affecting the other side. So emboss is, if you're doing this sort of effect, definitely the way to go. Just realized I didn't save it before I did this. Yeah, yep. Sometimes you forget to follow your own directions. All right, I'm going to pause the recording again. I'm still great. Okay, good. So it worked that time. It didn't bog down or anything. So you can apply this sort of stuff to like the legs, all that kind of stuff. So shift in, back to color. Let's save, emboss, spots. And this would be where you can now throw in, like, hopefully, some appearances down into there. So let's go play around with what else we got. Sure, yellow. By faces. Now, one of the things here is what I haven't done yet is just applied a fillet to these. So let's do that real quick, just by the internal edge. And this is just to soften it because this is a plush toy. So let's say I did a 1 millimeter emboss. So let's do like a 0.2 or deboss, chamfer. Yep, that's it. I was worried about this with a surface like this. It might be too complex. Okay, so this is too complex. Oh, it didn't. Did it select all of it? Yeah, it did. So let me just try just by the edge. I just want to see if this works. Okay, so it does work on just that edge. So if you're trying to mess with this, you might have to just tweak this individually. Let's do another 0.2. See if it gives me an error. Nope. So we can try expanding that. All right, there we go. Let's do a 0.5 on both of those. See if it. Okay, great. So we are being, excuse me. So I am being able to round out those faces. So great. Oh, don't know why it's doing that. So I couldn't select the entire face of that round, but I can select the edge, and it was allowing me to fill it. All right, so see, this one is what was causing an error. So let's see if anything smaller. Yep, smaller one works. So we have to do, so sometimes you run into this, you have to do these individually. And what I often find is the reason why the fillet worked on this one, but not this one. Let's do like a 0.2 or something like that. Yep, so even that 0.2 is too large. The reason I usually find that it doesn't work is because of that little bump. Meaning that, oops, zoom back in. So this side is all a positive circle, meaning it's all pushing outward. This one that has this indentation, for some reason, the geometry sometimes gets bogged down on that. So just be aware that it can be the issue. So now that I've kind of rounded those out because it's a rounded plush form, bring up the appearances again, and we'll do by faces. Sure, we'll just drop like yellow into those. All right, so appearances is working at the moment. It's just being real finicky. All right, so that's a way that is a way to merge separate bodies in, be it adding legs and welding the vertices, which in this case worked better than bridge. And they worked functionally, they worked fine. Visually, I personally preferred the effect that Weld Vertices had. And then, of course, after the fact, yep, join the eyes onto the body. There you go. So let's do a save. Jeez. Appearances applied. Okay. So especially with this project, and I'll add the color onto that one later. Do not forget, save often, because sometimes it bogs down and it's too much for your computer. All right, so different way of working, different way of adding features, and more of appendages and maintaining like round objects if that's the case. So hopefully that helps. Make yourself a little plush dino or whatever you like.